So good morning everyone. 12th class business studies chapter 5 and the last topic, difference between delegation and decentralization. Till now we have done all the topics of the chapter and recently we did delegation, concepts of delegation and decentralization. Both concepts are mutually interrelated with each other and sometimes becomes confusing if the concept is not clear. So delegation means, I told you, when a superior transfers his authority to his subordinate, it means authority lies in between two. So when authority multiplies by two, then it is delegation. And decentralization means when the authority is evenly distributed from the top level to the lowest level. Evenly distribution of authority means the required authority is given to each level. Like production manager is free to take all the decisions regarding the production department. So whatever the authority he requires for taking such decisions, that authority is provided to him. Okay. So in decentralization, decisions are taken at all the levels. So that's why it is said that evenly and systematic distribution of authority, evenly and systematic distribution of authority from top level to the lowest level. Okay, but in delegation, the authority is not given to all. Authority is given to only few. And who are those few? The most trustworthy employees on which the on whom the organization, or we can say the superior, is having trust. He is having confidence in those. That's why he's sharing his task, his work, his responsibilities with those particular employees. Okay, so now we are going to understand the difference. So importance of decentralization already we did yesterday. Reduction of the workload of the, when we are going to write this point, reduction of workload in delegation, because in both this point is same. So there you are going to write reduction of workload of superior, because their superior is giving his workload to the subordinate. But when we are writing this point in decentralization, then we have to write reduction of the workload of the top management, because in centralization all the decisions are taken only by top management, but in decentralization decision taking authority is distributed from top level to the lowest level. Then the development of personnel, already we have discussed. Then motivation for the subordinates, already we have discussed. You can see this picture that the motivation is there. So then quick decision making, if all persons will be at all levels will be taking decision making, then there will be quick decision making, because the decisions are taken at the point of action. Point of action means wherever the decisions are to be implemented, there only the decisions are taken. But in centralization, point of action is different and the decision making point is different. Initiative, it creates initiative and creativity among employees, because they will be deciding. As you can see in this picture, initiative means taking first step. So whomsoever is taking first step means giving suggestions. Like if something is going in any organization, then whomsoever employee is giving any suggestion by his own, suggestions are not demanded, then it is known as taking initiative. It means that employee is taking initiative. Then better coordination, you can see in this picture that due to decentralization, there will be more coordination among all the departments. Then better control, control will be better. Yesterday we discussed all these points, so I'm not going to discuss again. The last topic is difference between delegation and decentralization. So first is the basis is the meaning. Meaning, you can write both the meaning of delegation and decentralization, whatever we have did. Because in delegation, I told you that it is the transfer of authority, responsibility, and creation of accountability. In decentralization, authority is evenly and systematically distributed from the top to the lowest. So we can say that in delegation, one person to another, authority is multiplied by two. And in decentralization, whole in the organization means authority is multiplied by many. Each and every person in the organization is having some authority according to the responsibility assigned to him. Nature. So it's nature, you can write in nature. Here it is written individualistic, but in nature you can write it's a delegation is compulsory in nature. Why? Because no organization can work effectively if there is no delegation. Even it's not possible that a single person or the owner of the organization is doing all of the tasks by his own. In decentralization, it is a policy matter. Policy matter means it's a policy matter. Policy matter means it depends on the policy of the organization whether it will be centralized or decentralized. It is the policy. So that's why we are saying it means opting of the delegation is compulsory, but opting of decentralization is not compulsory. Any organization may be centralized completely or completely decentralized, or it may opt a combination of both. How it can opt the combination of both? All the important decisions can be taken only at the important decisions can be taken only at the top level, and all the day-to-day regular decisions, routine decisions, can be taken to the required level wherever those decisions are to be implemented. Then scope, I told you earlier, the scope delegation is having a limited scope, or we can say it is a narrow concept, because delegation does not include decentralization, and decentralization is a having wider scope. Why? Because wherever decentralization is there, it means delegation must be there, because decentralization is the extension of delegation. So for opting delegation, there is not necessary that we are also opting the decentralization, but decentralization cannot be opted without delegation. Responsibility. In this delegation, responsibility remains with the superior. It means he cannot give up with his responsibility. If the task is not completed by the subordinate, then he remains responsible towards his superior. But in decentralization, as the decision making authority is completely with the levels or the managers or the person who has to take the decision, who has to implement the decision, so to a little bit limit, the top management is relieved. Then effective in all organization, and mostly decentralization is adopted only in the large scale organization, because I told you earlier, if the organization is very small, then whole of the decision can be taken only by the owner or the top management. So decentralization is mostly opted where the size of organization is very large, many number of people are working together, and it is very difficult to handle all the tasks for a single person. That's why all the big companies, MNCs, have opted for decentralization. Just because of many merits are there in decentralization, quick decision making, motivation. So to get the benefit of all those merits, decentralization is opted there. Relationship. In delegation, there is a superior subordinate relationship, because authority lies in between two persons. And in decentralization, autonomous units in the organization like production department, sales department, marketing department, finance department. So in decentralization, different departments are there and they are working autonomously. Okay, so autonomous units are there in the organization. So all these are the points of basis of difference in between delegation and decentralization. So before asking for the concept clarity for the whole chapter, I am going back for the quick revision of the chapter. Okay, then we will be doing, wait a minute. So what topics we have done, just recall in your mind that what the all topics we have done in this chapter. Try to recall all the topics, please, because I am going to unmute you and I will be asking from you that which topics we have done in this chapter. Okay. So first of all, in the first class, we did meaning of organizing. Okay. Anyone will try to tell me name of all the topics? If yes, then please raise your hands. Yes, very good, Anmol. Very quick and fast. Very good. Yes, Anmol. Speak up all the topics.
Firstly, we do meaning of organizing, and then steps of the steps and the process of organizing, and third, importance of organizing,
Very
and
good.
then organizing structure, And
Very good.
then functional and division types of organizing, and
Yes.
then delegation of authority, and then
Hmm.
decentralization and centralization.
Yes, very good. All these are the topics. And one topic I told you, that formal and informal organizing, that is deleted from your syllabus by CBSE. So you need to delete that topic. You can put a mark in your book, textbook, so that you people are not going to study that topic. Otherwise, that topic was very easy topic. Formal means, in short, I am telling you for your knowledge, formal organizing means, I have already, I think, told you the official relationships, superior and subordinate relationship among the employees. And informal means friendly relationship. I told you in short this topic. So the organizing, meaning of organizing, in organizing we are assembling all the resources, identifying and grouping the activities, and then bringing together all the resources, physical, financial and human resources. Then organizing is a structure as well as a process. And you can also prepare a mind map of all these topics. Why I'm telling you for preparing mind map? Because in examination, when there is a case study, so first of all you have to identify the name of the chapter by reading the case study, that from which chapter this case study has come. After identifying the chapter, there must be all the topics of that chapter, like Anmol told, all the topics in your mind, because only then you will be able to relate that case study with the topics. If there is no mind map of topics in your mind, then you will not be able to recall the topics and to relate the case study with the topic. Okay, so organizing is a structure and also a process. Then the steps in the process of organizing: identification of work, grouping, departmentation, assignment of duties, establishing reporting relationship in which you are creating the superior subordinate relationship. Then the benefits of organizing, benefits of specialization. Wherever division of work is there, there always we will be getting the benefits of specialization. Then clarifies authority and power, role clarity will be there. Then optimum utilization of resources. Then adaptation to changes, if there are any changes in the business environment that can be easily adopted. Then effective administration, because there will be no confusion in the minds, no overlapping of the activities, no duplication of the efforts, so effective administration will be there. As well, at this point you can relate with the delegation. If you have delegated your routine task to your subordinates, that the management will be able to take the important decisions, will be able to focus on the core activity of the business. Then development of the personnel, you can see this success ladder. If the employees are able to take the work, do the work of their superiors, then they can reach to the peak of their success ladder. Then the expansion and growth, easily new departments can be added, and the existing departments which are going in losses can be removed. Then structure of organizing, two structures we have. Pattern, structure means pattern of job positions, or boundary line, framework within which all the managerial and operational tasks are performed. So two span of management also we did. In this I told you that span of management refers to the number of subordinates that can be effectively managed by a superior. Number of subordinates, so span of management depends on the individual capability. I told you this thing. So span of management can be narrow or it can be wider. Then types of organizational structure, two structure we discussed: functional structure and organizational structure. In functional structure, grouping is done on the basis of different functions to be performed. One function is performed only in one department, like production department, marketing department, engineering department, finance department. Many departments are there. So functional structure. Yes, function, very good, Divya. Functional specialization is there. This is the most important benefit of functional structure. Each and every departmental head is specialized in performing that particular function. So he is specialized. So we can get the benefits of functional specialization. Okay. So benefits of functional organizing, जो है specialization is written, but you have to write functional specialization, because this specialization is found in both type of organizational structure. Better control and coordination, increase in profit, cost reduction. This functional structure is very economical structure, as there is only one department for doing one type of activities. Then cost reduction, training becomes easier. Then specialization, effective training. Why effective training? As one manager is provided only one function training. Then less important, yes, this is the very important demerit or disadvantage. This then when a functional structure is there, then each and every functional departmental head is giving more importance to their department only. So it may be ignoring the organizational goal, overall organizational goal. They will be more interested in achieving their departmental goal only instead of organizational goal. Then coordination, interdepartmental coordination problem is there. Many examples we have taken to explain this. Interdepartmental conflicts, actually when there will be interdepartment conflicts, only then there will be coordination problems. So these 2 points are interrelated with each other. Okay. Then less chances of promotion. Why? Because the workers or employees who are working in a particular department, they are skilled only for that department, so there will be very less chances. Then next is suitability, and this is the very important thing, suitability, because when you are able to understand the suitability, only then you will be able to crack the case study, because in the case study you have to identify that which structure will be followed. Okay, so in this case study you have to work on this. Suitability, high degree of functional specialization is required, diversified activities are there. Just consider the words, because the similar words you will be finding in the case study itself. Then when the organization size is large, there only the organizational structure is divisional structure. When different products are there, then divisional structure is followed. Multi-product company, for each product there is a separate division. Then advantages of divisional structure. So skill development, chance for promotion. I told you here that whatever the merits of functional, that will become the demerits of divisional, and vice versa. Then next is responsibility can be fixed, quick decisions, expansion and growth. All these are the merits which we have already discussed. Then disadvantages. The disadvantages is the conflicts among divisions, increased cost, duplication of work, because in each division all the departments will be there, so each work will be done many times. Misuse of the authority, divisional heads may misuse the authority. Selfish attitude, chances of duplication. Suitability, where multi products are there and wherever the organization works in different parts of the country. Okay, so the next is the functional and divisional difference, already we have done, and this topic is deleted, formal informal. And the last topic we did, delegation of authority. Delegation of authority means transferring of the work, sharing of the work with the subordinates. So this is the process of delegation, in which there are 3 elements: authority, responsibility and accountability. Okay, authority means right to command, right to give orders, right to take decision. Responsibility means obligation to perform the duties assigned, whatever the duty is assigned, so we are responsible, we are obliged to complete that given task. Then accountability means answerability for the final outcome of the assigned task. Then finally the comparative study on elements of delegation. So this we have already done. Delegation in authority flows downward, and responsibility and accountability flows upward. This is the most important point. And delegation, this is the most important point. Authority can be delegated, responsibility cannot be delegated, entirely cannot be delegated, and accountability cannot be delegated at all. Here I told you principle of abdication, that whosoever was having the authority originally, that person will be only accountable to the superior, not the person to whom with whom he has shared his task. Okay, so that person cannot be made accountable. Okay, so next topic is importance of delegation. All these points we have discussed. Effective management, employees development, motivation, facilitates growth, managerial hierarchy. This is the important point. All other points are general point, and this is the important point. Delegation provides a base for managerial hierarchy. I told you that all the employees in the organization are joined with each other in a chain. That chain is actually known as managerial hierarchy. That chain is the chain of superior and subordinate. One person is the superior to other, as well as the same person is the subordinate to one. So they all are arranged in a chain. This chain is known as managerial hierarchy. Then better coordination, importance of delegation, the centralization and decentralization. Okay. So importance of decentralization, maximum points are same: quick decision making, relief to top management, reduction of workload, development of personal, motivation for subordinates, then quick decision making, initiative and creativity, better coordination, better control. All these are the points. Then the last topic is the basis, delegation and decentralization, difference in between delegation and decentralization. And here I want to tell you one thing. I think many times earlier also I have told you that this unit, in second unit of business studies, only 2 chapters are there: planning and organizing. And according to board bifurcation of marks, CBSE blueprint, this 2 chapter contains 14 marks, because the whole of the 80 marks are divided in 2 books, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 contains 50 marks and part 2 contains 30 marks. In part 1, 3 units, already we have completed 2 units. Unit 1, chapter 1 to 3, which contains 16 marks. In unit 1, 3 chapters are there and 16 marks are there. And in unit 2, only 2 chapters are there: planning and organizing, and both are very easy chapter, and it contains 14 marks. Okay. So here this chapter ends, and now I am taking query session. Then we will start with the MCQs. Okay. Wait for